So this op-ed appeared in The Guardian Sunday titled, "I'm calling for a cabinet of women to stop a disastrous no-deal Brexit" by Carolyn Lucas. I'm not British and I'm not up on British politics, so I had to find out who Carolyn Lucas is. She's an MP for the Green Party of England and Wales, and apparently its only MP in Parliament, a former MEP, a Remainer, and based on the title of this op-ed, a female chauvinist. Or feminist, same thing. So why is Carolyn Lucas so damn eager to run back to the tender embrace of Brussels? From the article. It's hard to remember a moment in my lifetime when Britain faced a greater crisis. A coup led by a small group of right-wing libertarians is all but complete, as the Vote Leave team has been reassembled and taking control of 10 Downing Street. They are set upon implementing the most extreme no-deal version of Brexit, and most terrifyingly, we are running out of time to stop them. Well, thank goodness that your lifetime is all the experience you have to draw knowledge from. It's not like World War II, the Great Depression, World War I, the Interregnum, the English Civil War, and any other crisis in English history are not written down anywhere for you to draw guidance from. After all, these are simply the doings of dead white patriarchal males. I find this hand-wringing about no-deal Brexit to be kind of laughable because what is the EU stick with which to enforce its will if Britain goes on the no-deal route? Britain is the second largest economy in the EU and the top military power. Is Jean-Claude Juncker going to send the French over to extract its £39 billion of Brexit tribute? Are the French going to come in like they did with Germany and occupy it like they did the Rhine? Or will the EU just refuse to trade with Britain? Remember that second largest economy thing? Yeah, that'll be European food and industrial goods that just sit in warehouses with nowhere to go, while Britain becomes a wide open market for other countries to jump into and pick up brand new business. Back to the article. At times of national crisis, political leaders need to bring a country together, but that is not happening. The government is hell-bent on creating more divisions, scapegoating our friends and neighbors, and ignoring the inequality and democratic deficit that fueled the Brexit vote. Yeah, because there is nothing divisive about smearing your friends and neighbors as bigots, racists, xenophobes, etc. for not wanting to submit their sovereignty to an unelected and unaccountable EU Commission, which I suppose is peak democracy. Either that or Brexiteers aren't your friends or neighbors and attacking them as morally defectives is just part and parcel of healthy democracy. Back to the article. It is not only a crash-out Brexit that threatens our future. There's the climate emergency too, and an unscrupulous leader who would have no qualms about manipulating it to justify the sweeping aside of democratic guarantees and people losing their rights. We have to avoid this danger. Why yes, for those of you Brits who haven't noticed, the sky is literally falling down around your heads. Fear-mongering? What fear-mongering? Back to the article. We need to find a way forward that allows the British people to decide what course they want to take. Mending our broken democracy should underpin the response to both the Brexit and climate crisis, with elected politicians setting aside our political differences in the national interest. Well, the British people already did decide. That way was to withdraw from the European Union as peacefully and as inexpensively as possible. The fact that Führer Juncker is trying to make the process as painful and expensive as possible doesn't invalidate the initial decision of the British people. Back to the article. We need an emergency cabinet, not to fight a Brexit war, but to work for reconciliation, and I believe this should be a cabinet of women. That sounds exactly like what Britain needs, a cabinet of women to perfectly complement its parliament of cowards. Back to the article. Why women? Because I believe women have shown they can bring a different perspective to crisis and are able to reach out to those they disagree with and cooperate to find solutions. It was 2 women, Betty Williams and Mairead Corrigan, who began the Peace People movement during the worst of the Troubles in Northern Ireland. It was 2 women, Christina Figueres and Ségolène Royal, who were key to the signing of the Paris Climate Agreement. Intractable problems have found the beginning of resolution thanks to the leadership of women. And at this point, I digress from the topic at hand, but speaking of the Troubles, by which I mean Irish ethno-nationalist terrorism, I've been a little curious about this for a while, but why are the Irish the only group of European ethno-nationalists who are to be tolerated. I'm indifferent to ethno-nationalism as a concept because it's just tribalism pretending to be political philosophy. But the Irish launched a terrorist campaign, especially against their presumptively Irish neighbors to the north, because the northern people didn't want to join the southern people in their little Irish Reich. And for some equally strange reason, despite ethno-nationalism being an evil far right-wingism meme, the EU showers the Irish ethno-nationalists with lots of money. It's just strange. But it's funny that a feminist, and feminists being people who whine incessantly about the so-called erasure of important women from history, conveniently ignore the role of former U.S. Senator George J. Mitchell of Maine, who served as an envoy to Northern Ireland and established and chaired the peace talks between the Republicans and the Unionists, which led to the Belfast Agreements of 1998. Yeah, let's not let inconvenient facts get in the way of feminists patting themselves on the asses for staging protests 20 years prior to the actual peace agreement. As for the 2015 Paris Agreement, or rather the transfer of wealth from developed countries to high-polluting, less developed countries, as demonstrated by said less developed countries getting uppity last year at some climate negotiation in Bonn, Germany about the $100 billion in climate sin taxes the U.S. was supposed to give them, to which Donald Trump replied they can expect their money on the 11th of fucking never. Yeah, feminists, take credit for that one. You know, it does seem to be a typically, let's say, feminine characteristic to make great showings of generosity with other people's money. Back to the article. So I have reached out to 10 women colleagues from across the political spectrum at Westminster and Holyrood, conservatives, liberal Democrats, Labor, the SNP, Plaid Cymru, and the Independent Group for Change and Independent, asking that we join together to stop the dangerous pursuit of a crash-out Brexit. And this is the part where party discipline should really kick in. Seriously, is party discipline just no longer a thing in politics? But anyway, what is this so-called parliamentary knitting circle actually supposed to accomplish? This is not an attempt to replace one coup with another. A small group of us should not be deciding on Britain's future, and that is not what lies behind my initiative. But we need to find a way forward that allows the British people to decide what course they want to take. Now, the British public voting for the Tories is a coup, but a cabal of 10 women out of 650 seeking to undermine both their parties and the British electorate, despite the same electorate having voted on the matter at a rate of 72% turnout, is not a coup because, well, reasons. I have to admit, feminist political logic is simply too big-brained for me to follow. Back to the article. To begin with, that means denying Boris Johnson the reins of power through a no-confidence vote and establishing a national unity government. Political tribalism would likely scupper any moves that are just about putting Jeremy Corbyn in charge. So far, the Labour leadership's reaction has been to suggest that they would not work in coalition with other parties, and politicians from some other parties have made clear that they would not serve under his leadership. A government of national unity must do exactly that, unite parties, and I believe that a cross-party cabinet of women has the potential to do exactly that. Oh yes, political tribalism is bad, but political tribalism in service to Brussels with a thin coat of pink paint over the top, you know, the preferred color of the master race, women, is good. So how is the Central Committee of the Feminist Revolutionary Party supposed to form this united front against Boris Johnson? I freely confess having no expertise on British government, but I believe that for a motion of no confidence to succeed would require 326 MPs, of the 650 in office with no abstentions, and 10 is significantly short of that number. At present, the Tories have 311 MPs, and Labour has 247. Without Labour, a successful no-confidence vote is practically impossible, and as admitted by Lucas, Corbyn will not form a coalition that he is not at the head of. So, if that's the case, if those are the realities of the British Parliament, what potential does a cross-party cabinet of women have? The answer is none. Back to the article. We then need to press the pause button in order to organize a confirmatory vote that offers the people the choice of the status quo or pressing ahead with the latest government plan, whether that is a revised withdrawal agreement or, as seems more likely, a proposal to leave with no deal. What she means is give the Remainers a chance to fearmonger a little more and then organize another vote. This is where you can tell the loyalties of the Green Party, and it's not with Britain, it's with Brussels. Because this so-called confirmatory vote, this so-called people's vote that Brussels has perfected to get its own way. You must vote and keep voting until you give Brussels the result it wants, as amply demonstrated by the Irish vote on the Lisbon Treaty. But wait, it gets even better. Brexit was voted for with 72% of the British electorate, but the 28th Amendment was passed with only 59% of the Irish electorate. So why are the votes in the EU's favor real and honest demonstrations of healthy democracy, but Brexit is not real democracy? Even if you want to give the Remain line any credibility, that being their claim that only 37% of the general population supports Brexit, fine. Only 39% of the general population of Ireland supported the Lisbon Treaty. So, kindly explain to me, help me out, how that 2% difference sanctifies or condemns the validity of a vote. Concluding the article, it also means a commitment that, as politicians, we accept the outcome of that fair, transparent, and informed vote, even if it delivers a result we do not agree with. I believe that we can make this happen. I'm asking my colleagues to meet with me in the coming days so together we can transform the conversation about Brexit. So together we can find a positive way forward, revitalize our democracy, and stand up to this government's reckless gamble with Britain's future. Oh, they're being honest with you this time, Britain. The Europhiles are going to accept the outcome of this vote, even though they refused to accept the outcome of the previous vote because it didn't go the way they wanted it to, and it didn't conform to their secret or obtuse definition of real, true democracy. Honestly, they'll play nice this time, despite the fact that the Europhiles didn't play nice all of those other times. They didn't play nice with the 1975 European Communities referendum, they didn't play nicely with the Lisbon Treaty, and they didn't play nicely with Brexit. But this time, honest, unlike all of those other times, they will play nicely and abide by the results of this vote, unless it doesn't go their way again.